This entire makeup look costs around $50 and sacrifices zero quality. I used some of my very favorite drugstore makeup products to get this wearable, everyday look that's perfect for any occasion, any time of year, any age, any skin type, and that costs less than what many eyeshadow palettes and foundations do, and is perfect if you're on a budget. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. I am so excited to share the products that I chose and how I use them. So let's get started. The first thing I want to do is even out my skin tone with one of my very favorite drugstore face products that's great for all skin types. This is the Wet n Wild Bare Focus Tinted Hydrator Skin Veil. This gives sheer to medium coverage. It's oil-free and has hyaluronic acid and squalane. And I would say the finish it gives is a natural finish. You do want to shake it just like you should with any foundation before you apply it. You can apply this with your fingers, a brush, or a sponge. I put some on the back of my hand and I'm just dipping a dry sponge in it to get a little bit more coverage out of it. You can use a damp sponge if you want to shear it out just a little bit more. I'm going to show you from one half of my face to the other the kind of coverage that I usually like to get from it. I find that I don't really even need a primer with this. Every time I wear these clips in my hair, I get asked where I got them. These were sent in a PR package from Laura Mercier, but I do have a set that I bought myself that I keep in my vanity downstairs that's in my closet that I wear regularly. I'll link those for you where I'm linking all the products I'm sharing today in my description box as well as in my top pinned comment. I've seen this priced anywhere from around $5.25-ish to around $7 depending on where you buy it. On Amazon, Wet n Wild has an official store and they sell it for just over $5, but on Ulta's website it's around $7. I'll be sure and source multiple places for you so you can find these products easily. You can see from one side to another how that evened out the redness, the unevenness that I had going. I don't bring my foundation under my eyes. We're going to tackle that here in a minute. It also does a really great job of smoothing pores. It doesn't settle into fine lines and wrinkles, and it wears really well throughout the day too. And here we have it on both sides of my face. I love that it evens everything out so beautifully and looks so natural, yet you can still see my skin through it. Now, I do have a couple of spots that I want to cover a little bit more, which I don't mind doing. We'll take care of that here in a minute. I'm in shade light medium, by the way. I forgot to say that earlier. If you think you're my foundation or concealer shade match twin, I keep a running list of those over on my blog that I have linked in almost all of my description boxes, and it will be linked here in my description box as well as in my top comment for you, so you can reference that if you think you might be light, medium, neutral leaning, warm toned like me, and you want to check out any of my foundation or concealer shades. I think this shade is a little bit light for me based on my neck and chest right now in the middle of the summer, but we can fix this as we move forward. To conceal under my eyes and on my face, I am using one of my favorite concealers, not just from the drugstore, but in general. This is the Crease True Skin High Cover Concealer. It does a great job of not drying out under my eyes that are already dry or accentuating any fine lines and wrinkles. And it also covers well and it stays on my face well too. It runs around $7. Another great option that also runs around $7 is the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. I'm dotting a small amount of shade 10 Cool Cashmere in the inner and outer corners and under my eye and blending it out with the warmth of my finger. I normally use a corrector under my concealer, but since we're trying to keep this around $50, I just want to show you the coverage of this without a corrector underneath. However, I will give you some great drugstore corrector options in the description and in my top pinned comment. I'm also using a very thin amount on my eyelids as an eyeshadow primer. And since we didn't use a corrector, I applied a very thin layer so that we could layer this concealer and have it not look heavy or cakey to help with those shadows that are still there in my under eye hollows. That's just what my anatomy does since I have dark circles and hollows. I just added a couple of tiny thin dots where I still had darkness, and I'm very lightly tapping my finger to blend that in only where that darkness still is. I'm not spreading it out like I did before. This really helps brighten and combat shadows if you still have darkness or if you have under eye hollows that appear sunken. I'm using shade 18 Cool Rose on my face, and I'm dipping a tiny concealer brush into it and actually tapping it again on the back of my hand just to get off excess product. This is actually an eyeliner brush. Another tiny concealer brush I like to use to pinpoint conceal is the small white concealer brush from e.l.f. I'll have that linked down down below for you too. I actually use that one the most, but I accidentally left it downstairs, so we're using this one. I'm dotting that to any areas where I have redness or discoloration I want to cover. Once I have that concealer placed, I'm going to rub any excess product off on the back of my hand just to make sure the brush is pretty clean. Then I'm going to blend out the edges. I usually use very soft tapping blending motions during this step. I'm going to go ahead and set my under eye area because I am someone that will crease under my eye while I'm doing other things. Just how my anatomy is, I'm using to set both my face and my under eye area the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Loose Powder. I love this. I think it's every bit as good as a high-end powder. It runs around $8 and you get a lot for your money. I have this brush set from Beaky that I'm going to be using. I just wanted to test these out. It's inexpensive for a brush set. I'm going to go ahead and set my under eye area before it starts to crease. Hopefully I caught it in time. This brush is very, very soft. I wasn't expecting it to be so soft. I almost forgot to tell you, the sponge I used too was Beaky. I've been getting into more of their products because they're really good. I have a 20% off coupon for you through Amazon. You can save 20% on their products and they're already inexpensive. They have these velvet puffs that I'm actually going to press this powder in with a little bit further. Sponges, brushes, other products. So I'll have a link to their store down below so you can browse around, and to my coupon code, which is good through September 30th. My original intention for my brows was to use the e.l.f. Ultra Precise brow pencil, which runs around $6. I really enjoy it. It's a great drugstore brow pencil. I am going to link it down below for you because that was my original intent. It would be what I would be using right now had it not been completely dried up when I pulled it out yesterday to prepare for today's video. I pulled it out, scribbled it on the back of my hand, could not get any pigment from it. So today I'm using another brow pencil that I absolutely love from the drugstore that I use in my regular rotation and think is absolutely fantastic. It's a little bit more than the e.l.f. pencil though. It runs around $10 or $11. This is the NYX Precision Brow. If you want a slim round tip similar to the e.l.f. Ultra Precise pencil, NYX Micro Brow is a great option. It's priced similarly to NYX Precision. Either one is a great option. NYX Precision has this slim dash shape to it that just makes doing your brows very quick and easy. It's pigmented and just looks very natural. It's great for quick days. The shade that I use is ash brown, sometimes taupe if I want to go a little bit lighter. I was just kind of caught off guard with this one. So my intent, keeping you around the $50 range. The e.l.f. pencil just didn't quite pan out. You can't go wrong with any of the ones I mentioned. If you're someone who doesn't need as much filling in or evening out of your brows as I do, you may be able to just go with a brow fiber or brow gel product. e.l.f. has a great one that's around $5, and I think Wet n Wild has one that's around that price point too. I'll have those linked below if you're looking for a great drugstore low price option. I like to do my brows before I set my face, which is why I didn't set my face right away. I just like to lock them in. I'm also going to make sure that my concealer that I used as my eyeshadow primer didn't crease, and if it did, I just want to press out those creases so I don't set them in. I'm going to go ahead and set my eyeshadow primer, which is extremely important before you go in with eyeshadow, and I'm setting everything with that same Wet n Wild Photo Focus setting powder that I used earlier to set my under eye area. Now, because this is such a sheer powder that's great for all skin types, it's not too mattifying, it's very natural looking and translucent, it doesn't look like powder. I really press this into my skin so that it meshes with my skin, with my foundation, and becomes one with it versus dusting it over and having it sit on top of my skin. So I like to take one of these velour velvet triangle puffs and I dip it right in the powder. This is going to look like a lot. I just kind of shake off the excess so that I'm left with just kind of a sheer veil of powder, and I'm just lightly pressing it on my more shine prone areas so that I get a good amount of coverage. Now do not worry, this is going to be pressed into your skin. I know those of you with dry skin are probably freaking out right now. You just need to kind of trust the process. If you're someone who is just absolutely powder averse, you can completely skip this step. I scraped my cheek a while ago. That's why it's kind of red right there. We're just gonna have to ignore that and move on. Some of you might really do great with that Wet n Wild tinted hydrator without setting it. The finish may be perfect for you. You may not get shine during the day, but if you do, pressing it in like this can really do the trick at keeping your makeup really locked locked in, and it just looks so incredibly natural since it's really fused in with your skin. Now, I always dust away any excess that may be sitting on the surface after. There were no floofy brushes in this beaky set, so I'm using the Real Techniques blush brush, which for me is a little big for blush, but I love it for bronzer and powder. And I'm just dusting it over my face, and you can see how natural this looks, even though we just put powder on because of the way we applied it. I still have a nice natural sheen. Everything just looks nice and fresh. I love applying powder that way. I've had this bronzer in my life for such a long time because it's fantastic and it's less than $4. This is one of my favorite drugstore bronzers to share with you guys because I think it gets forgotten about a lot. This is the Rimmel Natural Bronze. This is my second one of these. The shade that I have is 21 Sunlight, but it comes in several shades. The one thing that I don't like about it is the packaging. I do wish they would do something about that. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply this all over. There's no shimmer or glimmer or sheen to this bronzer. It just gives a beautiful natural finish. This is a buildable bronzer. It doesn't ever apply too heavy that I have to buff it out. It's very silky. I don't have to tap my brush off after I dip it in the pan before I touch my face with it, which makes it very easy to apply. I can apply it very quickly and easily, and it gives this natural finish. I'm not trying to get a major glow or contour or bronze today. I just want a natural light glow, and that's exactly what this gave me. Now, if you're wanting a cream option, e.l.f. has their putty bronzers, luminous putty and regular. They run around $7, but in my opinion, you can't beat Rimmel Natural Bronze for around $4, actually less than $4, with multiple shades to choose from. I originally thought for the eyes, I was 100% going to use the e.l.f. Bite Size eyeshadow palettes. The quality is great. They're around $3. You have a lot of colors to choose from. I really like them, but I realized that another eyeshadow palette that I really enjoy is also around $3, the Wet n Wild Color Icon 5-pan eyeshadow palette. I also really enjoy the fact that I have a little bit more versatility here with the Wet n Wild eyeshadow palette. Doesn't mean I don't like the e.l.f. eyeshadow palette. I do. I still use these and think they're fantastic. But what I like about the Wet n Wild eyeshadow palette is that there's a light matte highlighter, the brow bone and the inner corner. This palette, by the way, is called Walking on Eggshells. The e.l.f. palette is Cream and Sugar. This matte shade here is a great crease and transition shade and works really well under my lower lash line, whereas this shade is really great for a matte lid shade. It's a little bit light for those other areas. I usually use a bronzer in those areas. I like the shimmers in both palettes, and both palettes do have a shade I can use as liner, which is what we're going to do today with Wet n Wild Walking on Eggshells. So I'm going to go in first with this shade on my lower lash line, my crease and transition. I'm going to use this shade on my lid, a little bit of this in my outer corner. I'm going to highlight my brow bone and inner corner with this white. I'm going to line with this shade, and I may enhance that outer corner, smoke it out a little bit too. I forgot how much fallout the matte shadows give me in this eyeshadow palette. It doesn't make it bad, it just is something to note. It dusts away easily, but it may help you to apply your eyeshadow before you apply your foundation and concealer if that's something that bothers you. I get more fallout from the mattes than I do the shimmers, but it prompted me to apply this eye with the e.l.f. eyeshadow palette. I did kind of even out the colors with this palette just to give a similar look, but I kind of forgot that I get more fallout from the shimmers with this palette than I do the mattes. It's basically the opposite, so it's just something to note. They are both great. They look really nice once they're applied, but they do give you some fallout as you're applying them. Now, you may notice that I applied my mascara already. I recommend, if you're wanting to stay around that $50 price range, and Essence mascara, they run around $5. They have lots of options to choose from, but I know Essence mascaras can be kind of hit or miss. I have a couple that I really like, but they tend to dry out pretty quickly for me and can flake pretty easily in that process. I intended to apply an Essence mascara today, and when I pulled it out of the tube, it was completely dried out. I'm going to list the couple that I enjoy, but I ended up actually using an $8 mascara. It's $3 more from Lottie London, the super fake mascara. This is a fantastic drugstore mascara. If you're wanting another $8 option, e.l.f. Big Mood is another one to consider. So you have some options if you don't like Essence or if you're wanting some variety. The blush I'm using is a fantastic one at a great price point. This is Essence. The blush, the shade I'm using is Beloved. There are several shades to choose from. This runs around $4 and is absolutely fantastic. The finish is just a nice, soft, natural finish. It's buildable and applies beautifully and smoothly, and it's just really flattering. It's a great drugstore option that I really enjoy. I also have this in kind of a natural tan shade that's great for summertime. Okay, so let's move on to lips with lip liner. I went ahead and applied Natural from NYX. NYX lip liners are some of my very favorites in general, and the retractable lip liners and then the pencil lip liners run $5. The shade I just applied is Natural in the pencil lip liner. I also have Beige here, which is one of my favorite shades, and then I have Nude retractable liner. So the swatches are here: Beige and Natural pencil liners, and then Nude retractable liner here on the bottom. These are just great staple lip liners to have, and I'm going to apply the lip color that I get complimented on most often, and it's less than $3. I've talked about it a ton here on my channel. Out of all the lip colors I have, this is the one that garners the most compliments. I don't know what it is, but it's also very nourishing and comfortable. You would think it's high-end based on how it looks and feels. So this is Wet n Wild Mega Slicks lip gloss in the shade Bronzed Berry. I have 3 shades that I wear regularly. I keep saying I should probably get more because I like this formula so much. So we have Bronzed Berry here. It's the one that has kind of a sheen to it. Well, they all have a sheen, but this has, I don't know, kind of a metallic look to it, but it's really flattering. You'll see on my lips. This is Love Language above it, and the light one, the pale pink, is Snuggle Sesh, and I'll share this here in a second. It applies really smoothly. It's flattering. It isn't sticky. It's not too thin. It's not too thick, and it wears really well for a gloss. And I find this shade pretty much goes with anything. I've just reached for this a lot, and the fact that it's between $2 and $3 doesn't hurt. So you could combine this gloss with one of these lip pencils. If you're not a gloss person, even though I think if you're not a gloss person, you would still like these glosses, and you want a lipstick instead, that's where the other swatch comes in that's on the back of my hand. Nude Cream from Milani. This is the Color Statement lipstick that runs around $7. I've talked about this on my channel for a long time. This is one of my favorite drugstore lipsticks. So you could just use this if you wanted to keep it at the same price point, no lip liner and just the lipstick, and leave it at that, or you could spend a little more and use the lip liner and the lipstick. I just wanted to give you a lipstick option too if you wanted to go that route. So for the price of many eyeshadow palettes these days, we got an entire face look. Now we could have upped it to maybe under around $60 and added in a few more products, but I think this is a really great look that will span numerous occasions, numerous seasons, and it doesn't break the bank. What do you think? Would you change anything? Would you use a different product in lieu of something I used here? Let me know in the comments down below. Let me know what type of video you want to see from me, and I will definitely check out those ideas. I love seeing your suggestions and your comments and feedback. That's where I got this idea. I hope you enjoyed this and found it helpful. If you did, I would love it if you would give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time. Bye!